The moment she comes back after silence, everything in you wants to react instantly. Your heart speeds up, your mind starts racing, and you feel that urge to either question her, impress her, or finally say everything you've been holding in. But here's the truth: what you do in the first few seconds will set the tone for everything that follows. That's why you don't react, you respond with control. Instead of jumping in with emotion, you slow it down. You don't reward her silence with overexcitement, and you don't punish her with coldness either. You stay centered because a man who is grounded doesn't get thrown off by someone disappearing and reappearing. He understands that attraction grows in space, not in chasing. So when she reaches out, you keep it simple. No long paragraphs. No, where have you been? Interrogation. Just a calm, confident reply that shows you're unfazed and living your life. Something like, hey, good to hear from you. What's up? That's it. You're acknowledging her, but you're not over investing. You're giving her the opportunity to come toward you. And this is where most guys lose. It's not in her silence, it's in their reaction to her return. They either become too available or too emotional, but your power is in your balance. You're warm but not eager, interested but not desperate. You let her earn her way back into your attention because think about it. If she left and came back, she's already thinking about you. She's already curious. The worst thing you can do is kill that curiosity by over explaining yourself or seeking validation. Instead, you create space for her to invest. Let her talk. Let her explain. Let her come toward you at her pace. And while all this is happening, your mindset stays the same. You're not waiting for her. Your life didn't pause when she disappeared. And it doesn't revolve around her return. You've been building, improving, focusing on your purpose. She's stepping back into your world, not the other way around. This is what makes you different. You're not reacting like every other guy who gets excited the moment she texts back. You're composed. You're selective. You understand that your attention is valuable and not everyone gets full access to it just because they decided to show up again. And as the conversation unfolds, you keep it light, positive, and forward moving. No past drama, no emotional baggage. You lead it towards something real, whether that's setting up a meet or simply enjoying the interaction, because you're not here to dwell on what happened. You're here to see what she does now. At the end of the day, it's not about her coming back. It's about how you handle it that defines your value. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when she comes back after silence is trying to pick up exactly where things left off as if nothing happened. That instinct comes from a place of wanting comfort and certainty, but it actually works against you because when you act like nothing changed, you're subtly communicating that her disappearing had no impact on your standards, your time, or your attention, and that lowers your value without even realizing it. Instead, you need to reset the frame, not in a dramatic or confrontational way, but in a calm, self respecting way. You're not here to rewind, you're here to move forward with awareness. Her silence created distance, and now she has to close that distance again. That's the mindset you carry. So when the conversation starts, you don't dive into deep emotional territory or resume old patterns of overvesting. You treat it like a fresh interaction, but with quiet understanding. You're polite, relaxed, and open, but you're also observing. You're paying attention to her energy, her effort, and her consistency this time around. This is where emotional discipline comes in. You might feel the urge to bring up the past, to ask why she disappeared, or to express how it made you feel. But unless she brings it up herself in a sincere way, you don't go there immediately. Why? Because your focus is not on words, it's on actions. Anyone can explain themselves, but not everyone will show up differently. By resetting the frame, you give her the opportunity to demonstrate genuine interest. If she's truly invested, she'll make it easier for you. She'll reach out consistently, engage in meaningful conversation, and show signs that she values your presence. And if she doesn't, then you have your answer without needing to chase clarity. Another important part of resetting is not overcompensating. You don't try to be extra funny, extra charming, or extra available just because she's back. You stay the same man you were, focused, grounded, and selective with your time. This consistency is what builds respect. It shows that your behavior isn't dependent on our actions. And at the same time, you're not holding a grudge. You're not passive, aggressive, or distant just to prove a point. That kind of energy pushes people away and creates unnecessary tension. Instead, you strike a balance. You're open to reconnecting, but you're not blindly invested. As things progress, you guide the interaction forward. Maybe you suggest meeting up again, but you do it casually without pressure. If she's genuinely interested, she'll respond positively. If she hesitates or gives vague responses, you don't chase, you lean back and let her come to you. Because resetting the frame is really about reclaiming your position. You're not someone who gets put on hold and then resumes instantly. You're someone whose time and attention have value, and that value has to be earned through consistent action. And when you operate from that place, everything changes, not just how she sees you, but how you see yourself. Now, here's where most guys lose all the progress they made during the silence. They start over, invest in the moment she comes back. They think, this is my chance to fix everything. So they begin texting more, replying instantly, trying harder, giving more attention than they did before. And what they don't realize is this sudden spike in effort feels unnatural. It creates pressure, and more importantly, it signals that she still has all the power in the dynamic. You have to understand something very clearly. Attraction doesn't grow when you give more than what's being reciprocated. It grows in balance. It grows when there's a natural back and forth where both people are leaning in at a similar pace. The moment you start leaning too far ahead, she instinctively leans back again, and then you're right back in the same cycle that caused the distance in the first place. So instead of over investing, you match her energy but with control. If she texts you, you reply, but you're not glued to your phone. If she engages, you engage back, but you're not trying to carry the entire conversation. You allow space, you allow tension, you allow her to wonder a little bit about you again. This is where patience becomes your biggest advantage. You don't rush the process. You don't try to force things into becoming what they used to be overnight. You let the connection rebuild naturally, step by step. And that patience communicates confidence, because a man who is confident doesn't feel the need to speed things up or lock things down immediately. Also, you keep your life full. You don't suddenly rearrange your schedule just because she's back. You still have your priorities, your work, your goals, your social life. When she sees that your world doesn't revolve around her, it makes your time more valuable. It makes her realize that being part of your life is something she has to earn, not something she can assume. Another key part of this is emotional control. You don't get overly excited and you don't get overly anxious. You stay centered, because when your emotions are stable, your actions become predictable in the best way. You're calm, grounded, and consistent. That consistency is what builds trust and attraction over time. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. If she's genuinely interested, you don't have to do more. You actually have to do less, but better. Better presence, better timing, better awareness. It's not about quantity of effort, it's about quality of interaction. So you resist the urge to prove yourself, you resist the urge to win her over again. Instead, you let her come toward you at her own pace while you maintain your standards and your rhythm. Because the moment you stop chasing and start choosing, the entire dynamic shifts in your favor. One of the biggest mistakes you can make when she comes back after silence is pretending like nothing ever happened, while secretly hoping things will magically be different this time. That approach almost always leads to the same outcome, because if the underlying dynamic hasn't changed, the result won't change either. This is why you have to pay attention, not just to what she says, but to what she does. When she reappears, she might be friendly, warm, even a little nostalgic, but words are easy. What actually matters is her behavior over time. Is she consistently reaching out? Is she making an effort to see you? Is she investing in the conversation or just responding when it's convenient? These small details reveal her true level of interest far more than anything she tells you. You have to shift your mindset from hoping she likes you to observing whether she's earning a place in your life. That's a completely different frame. Instead of trying to impress her or win her approval, you're watching her actions and asking yourself, is this the kind of energy I want in my life? That subtle shift alone changes everything about how you show up. Consistency is the key indicator here. Anyone can come back for a moment out of curiosity, loneliness, boredom, or even just to check it. They still have access to you. But not everyone stays and invests. So you give her the space and time to show you who she really is now, not who she used to be or who you hope she'll become. At the same time, you don't interrogate her or demand explanations. You're not trying to force clarity through pressure. Instead, you allow clarity to reveal itself through patterns. If she's genuinely interested, her actions will naturally become more consistent. She'll reach out more, she'll make plans, she'll follow through. You won't have to question it. And if her effort is inconsistent, hot and cold, on and off, that's your answer too. It tells you she's unsure. And when someone is unsure, the worst thing you can do is overcommit. You stay grounded, you keep your standards, and you don't reward inconsistency with more of your attention. Another important part of this is not projecting your past onto the present. Just because things were good before doesn't mean they automatically will be again. You have to treat this like a new interaction with a new version of her. That keeps you objective, that keeps you from getting emotionally carried away too quickly. You're not closing yourself off, but you're also not blindly opening up. You're allowing things to unfold while staying aware. That balance is what protects your value and keeps the attraction dynamic healthy. In the end, it's not about what she says when she comes back, it's about what she consistently does after she returns. Because actions will always tell you the truth. Another critical piece that most people overlook when she comes back after silence is the importance of maintaining emotional self control, especially when old feelings start resurfacing. The moment you see her name pop up again, it can trigger memories, excitement, curiosity, even a sense of relief. And if you're not grounded, those emotions will start driving your behavior instead of your awareness. This is where you separate yourself from the average reaction. Instead of getting carried away, you stay centered. You acknowledge the emotions, but you don't act impulsively on them. Because the truth is, reacting emotionally too fast is what pulls you out of position. It puts you back into a place where you're seeking validation instead of offering presence. When you're emotionally controlled, your responses are calm, measured, and intentional. You're not overthinking every message, and you're not trying to read too deeply into every word she says. You take things at face value and you respond in a way that reflects stability. That stability is attractive because it shows that your emotional state isn't dependent on her actions. Also, you don't bring up the past in an emotional or confrontational way. There's no need to revisit every detail of why things went silent before. That kind of conversation, especially too early, creates tension and defensiveness. Instead, you focus on the present interaction. You let things feel light, easy, and natural again. If deeper conversations need to happen, they will happen at the right time, but they're not forced. Another part of emotional control is not seeking reassurance. You don't ask questions like, why did you disappear? Or do you still like me? Those questions come from a place of insecurity and they shift the dynamic in the wrong direction. A confident mindset assumes that if she's back and engaging, there's some level of interest there, and that interest will reveal itself through her actions over time. You also avoid the trap of trying to lock things down too quickly. Emotional excitement can make you want certainty right away, but rushing for labels or commitments often pushes the other person away. Instead, you let things evolve naturally. You enjoy the interaction for what it is without trying to control the outcome. At the same time, you remain aware of your own standards. Emotional control doesn't mean being passive or tolerating anything. It means you're choosing how you respond based on clarity, not emotion. If something doesn't feel right, you don't ignore it, you simply don't react dramatically. You stay composed and adjust your actions accordingly. This level of control creates a powerful effect. It makes you unpredictable in a calm, grounded way. She doesn't feel pressure from you, but she also doesn't feel like she fully has you figured out. That balance keeps the attraction alive while protecting your position. Because at the end of the day, the person who controls their emotions controls the direction of the connection. The final piece of the puzzle is understanding that not every return deserves a second chance and having the strength to walk away if her actions don't align with what you want. This is where everything you've done up to this point either comes together or falls apart. Because it's easy to stay grounded when things are uncertain, but it becomes much harder when emotions, history, and opportunity all come back at once. When she re enters your life, it can feel like a door reopening that you thought was closed. And naturally, part of you may want to step through it quickly, hoping this time will be different. But this is exactly where discipline matters. You don't judge the situation based on potential, you judge it based on reality. You've observed her behavior, you've matched her energy, you've stayed emotionally in control. Now you ask yourself one simple question: is she consistently showing up in a way that adds value to my life? Or is she bringing the same patterns that caused distance before? If it's the same inconsistency, the same lack of effort, the same uncertainty, then nothing has really changed. And if nothing has changed, going back into it will only lead you back to the same outcome. This is why you have to be honest with yourself, even if the truth is uncomfortable. Walking away doesn't mean you're bitter or angry. It means you respect your time, your energy, and your standards. It means you're not willing to settle for a half hearted effort just because there's history involved. A lot of people stay stuck in cycles simply because they confuse familiarity with compatibility. But those are two very different things. At the same time, if she is showing up differently, if her actions are consistent, if she's invested, if she's meeting you at your level, then you allow things to grow. But even then, you don't lose your center. You continue to live your life with purpose. You continue to maintain your standards, and you don't make her the focus of your world. This is what real confidence looks like. It's not about controlling her or controlling the outcome. It's about being in control of yourself, regardless of what she does. That's what gives you freedom in any relationship dynamic. And here's the truth: when you're willing to walk away from anything that doesn't meet your standards, you naturally attract situations that do, because you're no longer operating from need, you're operating from choice. So whether she stays or leaves again, it doesn't shake you. You're grounded in who you are, what you want, and what you're willing to accept. And that's the position where you never lose because you're always choosing, never chasing,